Welcome to APCUG's Wednesday workshops, where we get together at the middle of the week, in the middle of the day for some of us, and we talk technology. Today, we're going to be doing a Linux workshop. Bill James is here helping me. I'm John Kennedy. I'm your host and moderator for our Wednesday workshops, and Bill will be here to handle any kind of Zoom problems that you might have. You can jump into him. I'm glad to also have Orr Beach and Cal Esnault here as my moral support and backup. Hopefully they'll have some options or opportunity to talk with us today. Today we're talking about beginning Linux and things for that. Our presenter is someone who doesn't need presenting. He's been here with us before, and he's got a love for Linux, and not an expert. He's as Judy would say, he's an enthusiast and wants to help people have a good time with Linux. And as he says back here, don't fear the penguin. I hope today you'll find out that using Linux is very easy to use. I have a number of different things that I'm going to try to go through that are things that we do on Linux computers that are the same things that people do in Windows computers, so that I want you to get the feeling that making the migration to Windows or from Windows to Linux is no big deal. We've already talked before, a lot of the software that we use in Linux are the same software that you use in Windows, so there's nothing there. But sometimes because of the way things look, you feel different, but it's not going to be that way. So we're going to get rid of the chat box here, and I'm going to switch to my other computer. And I'm going to do sharing. And I can see the recording one to know that I'm sharing what I want to share. I had to do this for the weather we're having now, so it's much nicer here in Ohio. There's still some bad weather in my regions. Region 6 has still got some weather that is not as nice. All right, today I'm going to jump back and forth. I got my virtual machine up. That's a brand new one, so it hasn't been adjusted any, so that if there's something we want to do that I've already done on this computer, we can do it on that. I want to begin today with something that is very, very important and deep down for me, because I had a problem this week. All of a sudden, my laptop would not connect to the internet at all through browsers. I could get an update, but going through the browser, nothing. And it ended up being something that had corrupted the DNS, which is what you use to connect to internet sources through the general word that we use converts to the IP address that is used. And I couldn't do anything to resolve that. I tried to turn off it, go back to do it default. Man, it just nothing would. And I can't really do a good presentation on Linux, especially if I couldn't even get the laptop to get on the Zoom. So I'm going to start out by talking very seriously about the fact that backing up is so much an important #1 process. We talked last month at the World Backup Day about backing up, and the one that was the part that solved my solution was having my system backed up, so that I was able to restore back a week ago, and the machine was all back perfect. So we're talking about a program that comes with Linux Mint, and I'm going to be demoing Linux Mint, but it can be installed on other computers. And we're going to talk about the program called Time Shift. And Time Shift is the one that allows you to do what Windows tried to do. It never worked for me with the restore points. And even when I clicked the button that said create a restore point, when I got to the point that I needed it and I went back, it said no restore points. And I'm going, ah. So we're going to take a look at Time Shift. And this is my virtual machine. And Time Shift comes automatic. If you aren't using Linux Mint, you can go to your software center, and we'll talk about that later, and you can get your the Time Shift. And there's another program very similar to that, but the Time Shift one is the one. And as you notice, I just went to the search box and I just started typing, and Time Shift came right up along with time and date. Not quite sure why celluloid came up for playing movies, but maybe movie time. Time Shift is brand new. I got to put my secret password in here for my virtual box, which is always the same thing, makes it easy. And this one, I wanted to come here because we haven't started this one yet, so we could talk about it from the beginning. And I've got to do one little thing here, or it won't work right. There are two choices for how you do your snapshot. I'll just tell you right now, if you are not using what is nicknamed ButterFS or BetterFS, which is a newer file system, if you're not using that, then you want to use the rsync. But if you're using the ButterRF file system on your Linux, then you'd want that. So this is just the command line. We've had talk about that. And it's going to check my system, which is not going to be a big system since it's a virtual one. And it's coming to the end. This only has to happen the first time you run things. It's coming. Just to let you know, it's still ticking over here. And you have to remember too that whenever you're running a virtual machine, it's not as fast as an installed machine. I've got to do such. Be right back in 1 second. Sorry about that. Take care of one Zoom technical thing. Now switch me back. Okay, I'm back. All right, so now that it's seen what it's doing, it's going to ask you where do you want to store your backup. And, you know, we talked about it before. There's all those different places you store it, the 3, 2, 1 that we learned earlier. Now, it's going to come up with an error because I plugged in a thumb drive. It's a 128, and it says that that's not going to be enough for what we're doing backup. But I'm just going to say, okay, normally this would be either a second partition, a second hard drive on your computer, or an external. And so we're going to pick the external hard drive, which actually it doesn't seek. Never mind that. That's the same hard drive. Not enough space. Okay. So we're not going to do it on here. See if we can get under the settings here. Yeah, This is what I want. Okay, so you would pick the location. Right now in the virtual machine, it says I can't back up to myself. But here's the part I want to talk about in the scheduling. Now you have the option on scheduling is how often do you want to make a snapshot? And you have choices. My favorite is I keep a number of daily. Right now, the default is 5 days of daily, and then it connects or converts to a weekly, and you keep 3 weeklies, and then it goes to 2 months. Now, for me, my weekday is 7 days a week, so I want this to be a 6-day one. And then I go to, so I turn that one on to go to my weekly ones and keep 3 weeks, because 3 weeks will go into a month, and then do a monthly one and keep it for 2 months. What this allows is that I can go back a number of days, and I'll show you on my computer what that looks like. But then this sets the routine. So every day my computer makes a snapshot, system one, and then after 6 days, it'll make a weekly one, and then a monthly one. Now, the next thing is we want to talk about what you're backing up. This is not ideal to back up your home files, your files that you create, because of the size it would take and the length of time it would take to go back. This is the one that is to get your computer, like with mine, up and running because something got hosed and the files are fine. You just want to get your operating system back to normal. Now, everything worked except for the internet DNA stuff, so I just picked it back. So I don't include any of the home files because it would take a lot of space to do it. And you can exclude things. I don't worry about that. And miscellaneous is how do you want the date? So, you don't worry about that. And so once you have that set, schedule being the most important or second most important, location is the most important, and then the schedule, and then you set it, and it will make a your first backup, and then it'll go on the sequence, and then you just leave it and forget about it until you need it. Now, if we go back to my computer, which is this screen, and I bring up sorry, another technical thing. That's interesting. It's not doing a full screen recording today. Interesting. Okay, again, I go to time, shift, spell it right. And requires administrator. And so here is an actual running time shift. And you can see the different snapshots that have been created. You see that the very bottom is the one that was made on the 19th, which was yesterday. And then the day before, there was a daily one made and a weekly one made. So it doesn't necessarily, unless you start this, on a Sunday. And then you can go all through the list. You can see that I have 2 monthly ones. You could have it record 3 monthly ones. It's kind of up to you. This takes some room, but nowadays we don't have a worry about rooms because we got large hard drives. So it was the 17th, it was Sunday, that I was working on my computer and it would not run. And so I said, well, I don't really know. Did it happen yesterday on the 16th? So I just went back 1 week to the 10th, clicked the button and said restore, sat back for a few minutes because it does it right as you're watching it. And when it was done, it just said reboot. I rebooted and my internet problem was gone completely. So I think the number one thing that you need to have 1A is this kind of a program running. And Windows has it too, but we're not talking. This is time shift. There's another program called Back in Time. I don't know if this one refers to that one. It might say it in a different place, but Back in Time is another version, but time shift is one of the newer updated ones. So it is great. You can just go to your repository or your software center and get it if you don't have it automatically. A lot of them are coming with it right now. Now, along with that, in terms of backup, people always ask about backing up files. And right included in most of our Linux is, if I just start typing back, there's change your backup settings, but here's the backup tool. And this is a very, very simple, easy to use program. The top one, we'll come back to the second one, which is an even extra special one, is your personal data. And this takes care of your home directory. And so you just say, I want to back up now. Where do you want to back up? Now, what I did for this purpose is I have in my miscellaneous folder, I've got it back up. So my backup is going to go off of my main hard drive, because if the hard drive goes, you lose your stuff. And then what you can see is I've selected, I've selected folders I don't want backed up. And not quite sure why my music wasn't, because it should have. But there are things, such as in documents, you don't want to do, there's a backup folder I'm going to talk about next in documents. You don't want to need to back up that. And in documents, I've got my Zoom, and you don't want to back that up because that's huge. And you can choose, I don't need to choose my downloads. Music should have been there. I don't need to back up my pCloud file and a few of the others. So you just pick what you don't want to include. And then if there is something that you want to include that's not normally in your home directory, you can include that, and you apply that, and we are going to go back up. Now notice it didn't take long. It took longer the other day because it only backs up anything that it's found that's new. And so it's backed up. Now, if I go and show you in my miscellaneous, oops. I bet I know what happened. It wasn't mounted when it tried to back up. Well, as Judy says, warts and all. But yesterday, if I'm on the wrong thumb drive or on the wrong, it's backed up. Anyway, you'd have it there, and then it would be a file, and then it would back up. Let me try doing that again, just because we want to see it work right. Backup tool, backup now, put it in my miscellaneous. So you can see it says it was backed up to Media John miscellaneous. So let's go back and look at it again. Media John miscellaneous. Okay, there it is. For the first time it wasn't mounted. Sorry about that. I don't have that partition auto mount. I need to do that. So then there's the backup, and it's a compressed file, so can't open it up and show it to you because it would go out crazy. But then if I needed to back it or restore, then you would just use the restore button and follow the settings, find the backup, only restore missing folders or overwrite everything. So if something really happened to all your data, you could get rid of it that way. All right, now the second one, this is the one I like that is really, really extra neat. Each distro comes with a set of software, but most likely you will find additional software that you like that you'll install. Well, if you install it yourself, that is a second set of software that if you would reinstall your operating system would not be there because it didn't come with it. But you can go right now and you can back up a list of all of the software that you've installed. So I'm going to hit the backup now. There's all the software that has been installed by me, in addition to what came with the distribution. And so I select, I want you to record all of that, and I hit forward, and that quickly, there is a file called packages list in my documents backup folder. So if we go to that one, Control F for file manager, and I go to my documents, and there's backups, and you can see, there's where the first backup went. It didn't pay attention to go to that, so it reverted back to this folder, which is not good because that's in my regular document. So here's the list, and I'm going to open it up and show it to you. And there's all the list. And what you see on here is that it tells you that this is the different programs with the word install. So that tells the computer to install all those programs that I had installed when I needed to restore them. So that is so easy to do, so that anything extra, you reinstall your operating system with all the ones that come default, and then you just do this button and it installs all those for you. So that's the program that we have in most Linux, that the backup program. So I can't emphasize enough about the need to back up your programs. All right, so we're back on mine, and my virtual machine, because I wanted to do an empty one. What we have now is that we are going to take a look at the file managing system, because that's people are kind of comfortable with how you do things in Windows with the old File Explorer, now called File Manager, and it's no different with the Linux world. We have a number of different file managers. A lot of people just can't understand about multiple things, but you got to understand that Windows is one contained unit, and they have one file manager that comes with it. With Linux, people can modify to make it look and act like they want it to. And so this program particularly is called Kaja. It's the file manager that is custom made for Linux Mint. There's another one that's called Nemo. That's the one made for Mint. That's the Cinnamon desktop. They're all the same basically. They just have special features that they like. So this is the Kaja one. But I wanted to show you that it works and does everything normal. The first thing, which is not on my list, but back later, is that these are the default file folders that come with the browser, which are almost identical to the ones that come like in Windows, because it's not a Windows thing, it's a computer thing. folder for things on my desktop, document downloads, music, pictures, videos, templates if I make templates to use, keep them in folder, and one that's public, and that's the same as Windows. If I put anything in the public folder, any user that can log in under their name can access those. I can customize my home directory however I want by creating other folders, and it's as simple as you do a right click and say create a folder. Of course, you could also go to your file menu and say create a folder, or you could use your keyboard Shift Control N and get a new folder. I'll just do it the right click, new folder, call it name. And I'm going to call this APCUG. And now you have a folder to create, store stuff from APCUG or whatever. I was talking with somebody the other day, and she was using the Linux. She said, looking at this version of the view, and she said, I wish I could have it back the way Windows had it. And I said, well, what was that? And she said, all down one row. And I said, oh, you mean like this? And she said, oh yeah. Well, just like in Windows, you have the choices of having whether it's going to be icon view or list view. And it's all your preference of what you like to do best. How do you want to see things? I prefer the list view with folders followed by programs where I have a number of different pieces of information. For example, right now the default tells me what size things are, what it is, and when it was last modified. If you go into your edit and preferences, and I keep in all my classes I teach, I keep telling people that you need to get to your preferences and look and see what your options are. And so under preferences, you want to see that there are the default views. This is where I can set it. And so for this person, she wants to always see things in the list view. And you can tell it by name and how you want them to sort. I always like to have folders and then files. You can also have it just alphabetical, but I like folders and files. You can also set how big you want these icons to be, depending on your eyesight. Under behavior, you have the same option that you do in Windows. The old days, we grew up with double click to open up everything. The newer days, it's single click. So if you like the new single click, change it to that. I'm too old fashioned with double clicking, so I leave it at that way. Do you want your folders to replace each folder or window when you open it, or do you want to have each thing you click on have its own window? Up to your choice. Under the lists, these are all the different information you can have for the list that you want to see. I like to add the one called owner, because I like to know if there's a problem, if it's because I'm not the owner that I'm trying to get into somebody's file. So I have it set up for showing the owner. Some people like to know when it's been accessed or just created. Modified to me is, when did it last get modified? So for me now, I know that all of these folders are owned by me. Because if it's owned by root, and we've talked about root before, that's the master user, you can't do stuff with it because it's owned by root. And I have had at times when, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? And so I check the ownership and find out, oh, when that was made, it was made by the root, and so root owns it. The last important thing, just like you have in Windows stuff under preferences, you have the option to tell your computer, if you plug something in, what do you do with whatever's on there? As you can see, the default is that it's going to ask you what to do. you have the option that says, if I plug in a CD, use certain program and play the music or the DVD. I'm the kind of guy that says, I don't want anything starting up without me starting it up. So I always leave mine set to ask what to do. So that's how you get your activity going on here. Now, there's some other things that people want to do in here, and that would be moving things around. And I'm going to show you that it just is easy. I'm going to go into documents, and there's no documents, but this is a neat thing. In Linux, I can go into right click and say, create an empty document. And I'm going to give it a name. And it's a blank one, but it just gives you something in here to use. So I've got a file in here and I want to move it. And we can do all the things that you've learned to do in Windows, where I can right click and I can copy it. And then I can find a location. Let's say I want to put that into music. I can right click on music and go into music, that one. And I can right click and I can, oops, I didn't get the copyright. Go back in. Documents, right click, copy, go into music, right click, and I can paste it. You know, that's something we've been always doing. But there is another neat thing that can happen in Linux, and many of the distros have an option that under View, you can say, I want to add an extra pane. Now, this isn't an extra window, which is easy. You just double click and open up another file manager. This says, give me an extra pane. And so here I now have two panes on mine. They're both the same to start with, but I can go back here and I can go to, let's go to, I'm just going to go to videos for fun. And if I right click on that program or that file, I can say, I can copy it to the other pane. I don't have to copy and paste. I can just say copy it, or I can say move it. And I can do that with one file or many files. That is one great feature. I can also drag back and forth, but I tend to not want to drag because I can drop it someplace and lose it. Now I'm going to go back to my computer. So nope, cancel. Don't shut that down. That's the one. Go back to mine, and I'm going to open up my file manager, and you can see that I've created a number of other folders. You create it according to how you want to organize your own things. What I wanted to also show you on here that wouldn't show up on that one is that along with the locations on my computer for all my folders, you have access to the devices that are also on your computer, just like in Windows. And you can see that here are miscellaneous ISOs and VBox, which are my other partitions on this hard drive. And you can see that I've plugged in a USB drive. And so that's how you access. So I can just click on that, and here are all the files that are on that thumb drive. And then I can do whatever I want on that. A lot of people wonder about using USB drives and that. You just plug it in and it becomes part of your file system. And then you can go with that, open them up, work on them, save them back to that. There's my P cloud. We'll talk about that later, but that's where I have my desktop client that connects all of my backed up, or all my files backing up to my cloud. So that's pretty much, you know, file system. There's a lot more to get to it. I can always adjust how big things are depending on how my eyes are. And I can always change it back to icon view. The compact view puts it into small columns. but you know, I don't have to go to a second column. So whereas in Microsoft, they gave you certain default ones. You have your extra large ones, and your large, and your medium, and your small. In the Linux version, we just have your icon view, and then you can say how big you want it, and that's your your choice that way. So that takes care of our file manager with local files and folders and the devices that are connected. So it makes it really easy to access your files that way.
John, question.
Yeah.
You're using the word file manager, but if I type file manager in search, it's not there in Linux Mint. What's the name in Linux Mint? It's not file manager.
File browser or file manager, depends on which one you have. If you look on mine, you can see I've got two. I've got a file browser will be the one that we just were looking at. I have a second file manager, which is the PC Manager FM. So it's, you know, I just type file and it comes up. And it just, you know, it just depends on which name the people who made yours. Because if I click on file browser, that's the one we were right in.
Okay, I have files. So that's the same as touching the home button, isn't it?
Absolutely. Except
Okay, so
home button just gets you your home files, whereas the file manager has all your devices and network and USB plugs. If I go back to file manager, just show there's a very similar one that somebody said, well, here's how I think that file managers should look like. But that's the one called PC Man FM, PC Manual File Manager. So, yep. Just hit file on yours. A lot of times you'll have it. I don't have it on mine. You'll have an icon that automatically opens up just like in Windows. I don't like lots of icons. I like keyboard shortcuts. So all I have to do is hit my super key F and my file manager opens up, because F for files. All right, let's move on. Oh, updating. A lot of people wonder about the updating, and it turns out that updating goes the same way as in Windows. You'll see up at the top of mine, and that's because I like my main panel or taskbar in Windows at the top. There's an icon, the shield, and it has a little red dot that says, I've got one update. And it depends on what day of the week it is or something. I have one. It's part of the command line, the bash language. It has an update. So it tells me I have an update. And so I hit install update. It says, do you have permission to install on here? I say, here's my password. And that easy, all your updates get taken care of. And here it comes. It's finishing up. It's running a program called dpackage, which is what's in the root and the guts of most Linux distros in the Debian side. And there it is, up to date. What's nice about the Linux updating is it updates everything. And if there's something that needs to be updated and you're using it, it's very polite and will step aside and say, okay, we'll wait until you're done and then we will update that. Okay. So that takes care of the updates. And what I didn't point out because it was too quick is that there's a checkbox. So if for some reason you get a warning by somebody else that says, hey, there's an update, but don't do it, you would be able to uncheck it, which used to be a thing you could do in Windows, but now I think you really can't do it that way. All right. Now, so we have a software manager about, because everybody's asking about how to get the software. And if I go into my controls, I've got a shortcut link. I like the Mate desktop because it gives me controls. And this is where she was saying, you know, here are the places. Home folder just gets access really directly to my documents, pictures, music, whatever. But I go to File Manager because I have the full thing up there. But Software Manager. Software Manager is a graphical user interface program that just tells you a catalog of what's available. And we've talked about that a little bit before, but I was going to do a couple to show you. This will also have name change. Sometimes it might be called Software Manager, it might be called the Software Center, it might be the Software Store. It's software. Everybody has that. Editor picks recommending ones for you. There's their featured one right now. It'll change while we're looking at it. And then if everything's in categories. Now I need to go back and talk a little bit as of a review of what we've had before. There are different kinds of programs or packages for installing software. There's one that's for the Debian family, the Debian, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and a number of other distros that are all based on that family. There's a different one for the Red Hat family, which is the Red Hat, Fedora, OpenSUSE. They use a different kind, similar. It's like gas and diesel. They're similar. They do the same thing, keep your car running. And then the Arch one has their, you know, their own. And they're managed by a system of cooking up your software like you would at home. And they do it all together. You just say, here's what I want. And in the background, they get all the stuff for it, put it together. However, as Cal did in his presentation a month or so ago, there's a new kind of thing called a container. And this is the newest kind of software that says we've got it all. Everything that you need is all together. And I came up with the easy way to think about how to do this. When you move into a new house, your cupboard's bare, you go out to the store and you buy things that you need to cook and bake with. And you have them up on your shelf and you're ready to go whenever you want to make a recipe of something. Later on, when you're going to make a recipe or bake something or cook something, you take a look at the recipe and say, oh, I need this. And you look on the shelf and say, okay, I've got some of that. I don't need to go to the store and get that. But, oh, I need this, so I go and get that from the store. In the software world, those are called dependencies. And you're dependent upon some kind of part of your recipe. And if it's already in your house, you don't need to go get it. Software does the same thing. If it says, oh, I need this piece of software to go with my big package, it's already here, I will use it. I don't need to get it. If it isn't already here, it goes out and gets it and brings it in. So your software has to check your computer and see what you have. Now, the problem is at your house is if you don't pay attention, you might run out of the flour. And all of a sudden you want to be able to bake something and you go up and going, uh-oh, no flour. Well, that sometimes happens with software. Your computer says, oh, I'm going to use what you already have, and it's no longer there. Maybe it got deleted when you deleted a program you weren't using anymore. Then your program doesn't work, and in your house, you can't bake what you want to bake. Well, these new containers say, we don't worry about that anymore. Everything that we need comes packaged. You might already have it in your house, but we're going to bring what you need. Not anything extra. It's like those food kits that you get. Everything you need to fix your meal is included. You might have had some of the stuff on your shelf, but we don't worry about that. It comes included. So these new containers are, really good because, everything is in there. Now there are different kind of containers, just like there are different kind of stores, different kind of clouds. The container that Ubuntu has developed is called Snaps. And so if you're using Ubuntu, you're using snap packages that are these things. If you're using Mint like we are, we have flat packs. Same thing, different name. And there might be some others out there, but those are the two big ones. We also have something called app images that we're going to talk about as well. One of the negative things for the flat packs is that because it contains everything, they're big. So you need to have a lot of hard drive space if you're going to have a lot of flat packs, because they're going to take up a lot of room. Because remember, the regular packages pick and choose and they grab parts that you already have, so they're smaller. So that's one negative thing. The other thing is that with flat packs, sometimes you have to take care of checking to see if there's a new one and replace the old one with the new one. And the same thing with app images. Okay, so one of the things that's nice about Mint with flat packs is you don't have to go out to the Flatpak website to find them because they're included right here. But there is one, so I'm going to go to it. Oh, right here we go. Let's get the other browser up. It's always good to have a couple browsers. Oh, great, Brave's going to pop up. And if we take and go to stop. It's called flathub.org. So that one's not going to work, .org. And you'll see that just like your software store, here is where you come to get all of the flat packs. And you can then install them on your computer. And these don't necessarily have to go with Mint. These are cross-platform for Linux. That's what the new thing is. You don't have to worry about it so much. So that's pretty much why they're so good. But if we go here, this looks a lot like any software store, like the extensions for Google, and you can go to any category and find flat packs. The other one is called app images. And if we go to appimage.github, and we're going to talk about that because I like app images. We're trying to get there, and coming up there, not. Stop it. It's freezing up on me. See if we can go back to that. Okay, so here's the catalog for app images. Only problem in here is that when I came here before, they're all alphabetical and there's no categories. But you can see that there are 1,312 of these programs. And again, these are ones that are just all self-contained, but they're not as big. They've been compressed. They're kind of neat. So I'm going to get out of here because I'm overloading with Zoom and my other virtual machine. All right, so let's talk about that. So in the Mint, if we go back to our Mint's software manager, Here it comes. All of these programs are the normal programs that you have. Up at the top is a search box, so you could search for programs. In the listing, you might find two listings for the program you're looking for, and that's because one of them is the standard package and one of them might be the flat pack. Now, one of the things that you need to do is if you're going to use something like the app images, I'll do it on the other computer, is that, make this larger here, is that you need to have a folder for these app images to go. So I'm going to show you how to do an app image, and it's really easy. You just need to create a folder, and I'm going to create a folder. Name doesn't matter as much, just so you know. One person told me that in Linux, there's a folder for optional software. It's OPT, and that you should call that one OPT in your folder. Well, for me, I keep forgetting what in the world's OPT. So you could call your folder like applications, or you could call it maybe my apps, or even app images. You just need to have a location for these programs you're going to use to hold a placeholder, because these programs, these app images, do not get installed. They just run. They're great. All right, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Flat packs are get installed like a regular software, only it doesn't go in the same location that you would think. You aren't going to see them. They're going to be in a separate file. Okay, so let's talk about some that we're going to look for that I want. For example, if we go up and look at OpenShot, this is a video editor that is available for everybody. This would be a free one if you wanted to try a free one and didn't want to buy it. And what you'll notice on here is that there's two different OpenShots. One of them is the regular one. So if I'd click on this one, this is the regular file that you would install normally, the old way. It would be like probably a Debian file. But if we go to this one you can see down at the bottom says this is a flat pack. So that means that when you install it, it's going to install everything. It's going to take about space. Notice it's 112 megabytes just to download, but it's going to expand to 252 megs. So that's why, you know, this is, if you're going to use flat packs, you need to have a nice size hard drive so that you can do it. I wouldn't put too many flat packs on a virtual machine that's not very big. Sometimes you can find programs that are both, and sometimes they're one or the other. For example, I was looking for pCloud, and it's searching, and pCloud is not in the repository for Mint right now, or Linux Mint right now, but you can get to it. Some programs would just be flat pack. For example, if I wanted to get Bitwarden, which is our file manager that we've had workshops on, it's here, but it is only in a flat pack. Not a problem. It just makes it easier that way. So I want to show you how we get that. So we're going to go to the software manager. I just closed that up. And we're going to get a program that that's really good. It's one that I've had a request to show off, and we talked about it before. This is Stacer. And when I look for Stacer, there it is. And this is a regular program. I click on it. It tells me there's what we'll see when we get Stacer. And this is just a regular program. So I'm going to install it. Do you have permission to install? Yes, I do. And this is the normal install way. It'll install it in the folder where all the programs go in Linux. And then it will put an icon in your box for your start menu. Finish it up. There we go. Now I can launch it from here, but I wanted you to see that if I go, into my start menu, and I think if I go to STAC, there it is, already added, and I can start it up. And this is a program that you use to take care of a lot of stuff in yours. I won't go into great detail. Somebody did talk about it, but this is a program you want to have because it gives you your system information, and it can do things like set your startup apps, clean up your program. This is a good program like CCleaner to clean up what you want. You can do lots of stuff on your computer. But that was just a simple quick showing you how to install that one. Another program, just to do one more, is called SIMP, Simple Screen Recorder. This is a program that you might want if you'd like to create videos for publishing on YouTube or sharing with your clubs. This will record your screen and it can record your video at the same time and make a lot of these programs. And so again, I would just click on that and I would hit install. If we go do a flat pack, I have a list of OpenShot. And there's the flat pack one. And it's the same procedure. I get up, button says install. The only difference is they're installing a whole package of all you need into a different location. So for most people, it's not going to be any different. You just, it's in the background where they put it, not a big deal for you.
When you look at the name, how do you know which one's a flat pack and which one takes less space? You went so fast, I didn't see it.
When you go down to details, it tells you it's a flat pack.
Oh, you have to open it to details. Okay, thank you.
Or I could have just gone to flat packs and all of those would have been the larger ones. Okay, just about done installing. And again, I could launch it, but I'm going to go to the menu, go to, it should be under video and OpenShot. Makes it real easy. So those don't make any difference to you when you're installing them. They go the same way. But app images will be something a little bit different, and I'm going to go through a couple of those. And I think I need to go to my laptop. Okay, here comes OpenShot. So those of you who came to our workshop on video editing with John Kraut, and we did the other program, here's one that would do pretty much the same thing, free. Give it a try, and if it doesn't do it well enough, then you can pay for the other one. Okay, so if I'm going to go back to this one. All right, so I've already got a folder created because I'm going to need that for putting my app images. Cancel. I always hit the wrong button. All right, so we're going to go out and get an app image. So I'm going to go just out to the web. And the first one I'm going to get is one called Etcher. Etcher is the program that we use to create bootable thumb drives so we can test out Linux operating systems. And so I'm going to get Etcher, which is an app image, and just show you how easy it is to do it as soon as my browser comes up. And again, using a computer that's running both Zoom file sharing and a virtual machine, it goes slow. Okay, I'm going to go ETCHER and I'm going to search for Etcher because I want to make sure I get it from the source, right from them. And it's a company called Molina. And there shows you what's going to happen on it. It's going to be easy enough. All right, and there it is, download for the Linux, because it knows I'm on a Linux machine. If I was on a Windows machine, it would say, hey, here's the Windows one. If you weren't running a 64-bit, you could change it to a 32-bit, or I can change it to Windows. But since it knows what I want automatically. So I'm just going to download this. And it comes down as a zip folder because it has all that together. All right, so I'm going to go to my downloads folder. And there it is. So I'm just going to double click because it's a zip file. I need to unzip it. And notice that when we unzip it, it's going to be a file called an app image file. So I'm just going to say extract it. And I'll just go ahead and put it. And let's switch it. I'm going to switch it to my home directory. Where's home? There it is. Oh, I see. I got it reverse order. How'd that happen? Okay. And there's my applications folder. And I'm going to extract it there. And I'm then show it in the file. So now I'm in my applications folder and there's Etcher. Now what I do is I always make a folder for each program. So I'm going to call this one Etcher. And then as I showed you earlier, I can just take this file and drag it and put it inside there. Now here's the beauty. There's the program. I have not installed it. You didn't see me do anything about installing, but all I have to do is double click. Didn't work. Security feature in Linux. We talked about this before. Oh, it automatically did it. Normally, you would have to go into your properties of your file and give it permission to execute. So if it doesn't automatically start up, then you would come into here. And what I just did was right click. Remember, right click's your best neighbor. Went to properties, go see what you can do. And under permission, allow execution. And now, when I double clicked it, I thought it wasn't going because it's slower. There it is. And there's Etcher. Now I'm going to show you how this works. First off, it says, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm sorry, on my machine. never mind. All right, now what you can do then with this is you can come to here and run it. But what you might notice is if I go here and I go ETCH, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. This program said in that whole package deal, we'll put it in your menu. Once in a while, it doesn't go into your menu, but in another workshop, we can talk about how easy it is to add something to your menu that's not there, that doesn't come automatically. But there it is right there to do it. I'm going to do another one just to show you again. And this one,
John,
yeah.
is that the same as what in Windows you'd call a portable?
Yeah, it's an exe. It would be equivalent to just an exe file that runs. Yeah, exactly. It's a portable. That's what these new things are that makes it easy, that you can just run it. And what makes it really nice is if I want to get rid of this, in the old days, we'd have to go the uninstall program, and we'd have to, hopefully all the parts would get installed. If not, we'd go to Revo uninstall and have it go through and find all the junk. If I want to get rid of Etcher, all I do is right click and hit delete and it's gone. I don't even install it. Since I never installed it, I don't have to uninstall it. No, don't do that one. Okay, the other one I want to show is pCloud. This is my cloud storage. And that's an add. We'll go to this one. And again, I come here and I go to download. And at first, I don't even realize there's anything different. Go to download. And there it is, download. And it knows what I'm doing, but I can also choose, I want to make sure I'm using the 64-bit. And it's downloading somewhere. Where to go? Try that again. I didn't see it come through. No, didn't. There it comes. And again, it's just a normal download, but it isn't until afterwards that you find out, oh, it's an app image. So I open it up again. And this time it came down without being a zipped file. So all I have to do now, well, I'll do it the fun way. Go to view and get my Extra Pane. And on this side, go to my applications folder. Right click, move to the other pane. No copying, no pasting, it just moves it. And again, I'm going to put in a folder called pCloud and then move this in. Now I'm going to check to see whether or not it showed up here, and it did. So once in a while, I had to, create an icon, a desktop for it. But again, I can run it right from here because it's an application. But let me check first on the properties, permissions. It wouldn't have worked. It didn't automatically get that. So I just say allow it. And now if I double click, it should pop up and want me to sign in. And that's easy. And somebody I was talking to, you need to have the pCloud on all of your computers. I can have one pCloud account, but I can put it on all my computers. And notice it's a cross-platform. It's an Apple. It's that too. Okay, quit. Yes. All right. So that's how easy it was. Dealing with app images. All you do is take that one file that you get and put it in a folder where you know where it is. And you can just run it from right in here.
John, when I look at them, how do I know that's an app image? I have to open it to read it somewhere? I mean,
Yep. See, it says right there, it's an app image
I'm looking.
right there under type.
Oh, okay. App, okay.
And if I had, I was looking to see if we have extensions. Let me go back to view. Maybe it's under here. One of the things that Windows does is they take off the extensions and edit. Let's see if I have it. Extensions. Now, if I go to applications, oh, nope, it doesn't have an extension. But that's it. You just look at the kind of file it is, and it's an app image.
Open the
Okay.
folder.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it shows it right there. pCloud app image.
Okay, thank you.
You'll see this one. It has the extension on it. pCloud doesn't have it on there, but you can see that Etcher tells me right away that it's a .app image. In Linux, I'll have to let you know that in Linux, we don't care about extensions. We don't care about .doc. We don't care about whatever. Linux doesn't pay attention to those. Linux reads what the file is in the very beginning of the inner workings of a file that we don't see, but Linux does. It sees it right away. So I can call anything any file I want a different name or an extension. It doesn't care. It knows what it really is. All right, so that takes care of the easiness of doing an app image. Now I'm going to go back to my computer and show you how easy it is to work Etcher, because I've had that. We've talked before about trying out different distros. So I'm going to fire up my Etcher program. And remember, this was just an app image that I downloaded, put in a folder, and it starts up automatically. It's just great. It's not installed, so I can delete it real easy. So when Etcher comes up, the first thing it wants to know is, what are you going to want to flash? Well, I'm going to want to flash my ISO, or ISO. So I'm going to go to where it's stored. And I think this one's still in the downloads. Yeah, there's the ISO file. It's my Linux Mint 20.3. It's the newest one until the 21 comes out in a month or so. So I say, I'm going to use this operating system. And I say open. So now it says, okay, we're using Linux Mint 64-bit 20.3. Where are we going to put it? Where are we going to make it into a flash drive? So I'm going to select the target. And a lot of times, if it was an empty one, it would have defaulted and found it. But this one has something on it. It's my old 20.2. So I'm going to say we're going to use this one. So now it says, oh, okay, you're going to use this operating system. You're going to use this thumb drive, and we're just going to hit flash. Are you allowed to do this? Yes, I have the password. And it's going to have a little bit of something for us to read while it's working. It says it's going to take 3 minutes, but that's how easy it is. Then once you have this thumb drive, then all you have to know how to do on your computer is boot to the boot menu. And usually that's like F8. Some computers, it might be F12. Your computer should tell you when it starts up before Windows starts or whatever. It should say what key you use to get to your boot menu. and then you just select the thumb drive and you boot to it and you're running that version of Linux. It's that easy. So we will let that simmer for another minute or so, but that's how you, so, you know, it is so easy. All I did was get the app image, didn't have to install it, run it, pick my ISO, pick my thumb drive, and hit do it. And it's doing it. Can't be any easier. The other program that we've talked about before in the Windows world, but this Etcher works in there too, is a program called Rufus. It has maybe some more options that you can click, but I'm going, for me, this is too easy. Click the ISO, click the thumb drive, and hit flash it, and it does that. All right, I'm going to switch now to my next topic is a lot of times we get messages. I worked with somebody the other day who,
John,
yeah,
this is Bill.
hi, Bill.
When do you want to answer? I have a couple questions.
If it's specific to what I'm doing, I'll do it. But if it's not,
It
I'll
was
do it later.
about your last topic.
Okay.
They wanted to know about where are the files stored in pCloud.
Where the files are stored in pCloud.
Yes.
I don't know, 5 different servers somewhere in the world. It's my cloud service, so it's up there.
Oh,
somewhere.
so it's the equivalent of
OneDrive.
OneDrive.
Yeah,
I think that was what the question was. He didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that because I really like pDrive or pCloud because it works so well with Linux.
So it's just another cloud server like OneDrive or Google Drive or any of those.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, that was the question.
Okay, good.
Is it free?
Do you know me? Have you ever been with me before in a workshop and know that I'm free, John? It's free with 10 gigs of storage. And when I talk about later, it's got a very reasonable price for more if you need more, but you get 10 gigs to start out with for free. All right, I'll stay here just for another few seconds because it says it should be done. And this will be interesting because this has to do an advertising using the Etcher for a Raspberry Pi thing. Oh, to enable screen mirroring on TVs, monitors. So there's a project you can do with a Raspberry Pi after we talk about those. All right. Oh, it's going to validate. That's always good to make sure that it's a good burn. As I was working with somebody the other day and they said, I got a message on my screen that said something like, and I said to them, that's not going to work because if we don't know exactly what it says, we can't deal with it because if it says something like this, it might be, we might be going up the wrong path. So one of the things that we tell people that you really want to have on your computer, which is there, and make use of it, is the program that takes screenshots so that you can take a screenshot of a message and save it. And then when somebody said, well, what did that message say? You've got it. I have somebody that I work with that they take screenshots all the time and send it to me. Says, look, here's what happened. What do you think? And so screenshot programs are great. And I'm going to show you 2 of them. Every computer comes with a default one that comes with your computer. And the one that comes with you know, most Linux mints are very good. They're very basic, and I can show you the difference, but it's good. So I'm going to leave this screen up so I have something decent to capture because it should come up and say, yay, complete. Good job. Now let's say that somebody, and you can see that I have a menu that dropped down that said good. So we can pretend that this is a message that something didn't work right. And somebody wanted me to see what it said. So in your programs, if you go to screen, and you can see right here where it says take the screenshot. And this is the very basic program for screenshots. And it has a couple of different names, but they're trying to say very basic screenshot. And you can see that we can do a couple different things. We can grab the whole desktop. That means everything around here, or I can just get the window that I'm working on, or grab an area. I usually use grab an area because it's not, I don't want the full window. You can also do a delay, because it's kind of neat that if you do a delay, you can get a drop down menu to come, and then you can, when it takes, you can get the whole thing in there. So I'm going to do the selected area. It doesn't matter whether it's the pointer showing or the border. I'm going to select the area, and I'm going to take the screenshot, and notice I've got a crosshair from a mouse. And so I just need to highlight the area that I want to capture. And then by default, it's going to save it in the desktop. It's going to call it screenshot, but I'm going to give it a different name. Demo screenshot. And I like it to go into my pictures, but honestly, I have a folder called screenshots. I can also copy it to the clipboard and then just paste it into an email that I'm going to send to somebody who I need them to see this. So I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to go to my file, Super F. See, there's my regular screenshot. So I normally have mine go there. But if I go to pictures, we'll find there's the demo. And it's just a PNG file now. It used to be a JPEG file. And I can send this and say, well, here's the error message that I got. Simple as that. The old days, we used to hit the print screen, and then we used to hit paste into a document because it goes to the clipboard. This one does the same thing. I chose to say save it instead of going into the clipboard. Another program, and I've got it right here, is called KSnip. And I like this one a lot better because it gives me more options, especially in part 2. So here's the menu bar. And again, I can do a rectangular area, the full screen, current screen, or the active window. You know, you might have a number of different windows on your screen, but you only want the active one. And also, if you did a rectangular area before, you can say, oh, I want to use that same rectangle I used. So I'm going to click rectangular area. And this one had a timer on it, I think. Now, notice how this one just went totally gray. And then I can see exactly what I want. And this one, even if I want to get very particular about my location marks. So I'm going to highlight that. And then when I let go, this one pops into a editing window. I use a different program in Windows. It's called GreenShot, but it's not available on Linux because we got KSnip and another one. And this is great because I have the ability to annotate this screen, and I can put arrows on it. I can box something. When we were teaching our computer classes for our club, I created manuals for the students, and I use screenshots all the time and, you know, marked it all up. This one even has a neat one where I can put numbers and it remembers. And if I want the next number, 2, the next number, so I can step things. So this is called KSnip, and then I can save it and save as. And KSnip knows that it goes to screenshots, and I can give it a name. Other options with this is that I can add a watermark to it. I can do any kind of photo editing with it. I've got settings. This one will also automatically upload to Imgur. I don't have that, but there's a website that you can store your files on. This one's the great. And we all learned a long time ago when we were little that they said a picture is worth 1,000 words. This will do it. You take a screenshot of, you know, a problem that you have and show it to somebody, and they'll say, oh, I can figure out that one. So there's all sorts of stuff, and that's why I like KSnip. Windows, I found another one. I can't remember the name of it right now. That is an awesome one that has lots of tools. There's another one I've got here. I just for demoing called Flame Shot, and take a screenshot. This one I get confusing. They have all the tools go around the edge. A lot of people say this one's better than KSnip, but it's the kind of thing where it's what works best for you. And escape to get me out of that. Okay, screenshots. We talked about Etcher. And last that I had on there was, we did want to talk about pCloud. We saw how easy it was. And if you look up at the top where my arrow is pointing, there's a blue cloud. Let me get rid of KSnip. It runs. I don't need it running. I don't need that one running. pCloud, I pay for it. It's $50 for 500 gigs. And as you can see, I've got almost everything backed up on my computer, and I haven't even used 100 gigs. But what I like about this one is that it will work so well with Linux because it creates a desktop client that I can move back and forth. I used to use iDrive, but iDrive does not have a client software for Linux, and they aren't in the near future, they don't have any interest in making one. But if we go to, it has web-based access, and if I open my drive, this is a folder that's on my computer. It's trying to open up. Okay, you went to sleep. Oh, there it is. And you can see that I have, oh, you went away. Let me get it back here. Okay, that's the real one. Oh, I might as well be while I'm here. I don't get any money back from them, but in terms of their pricing, like I said, it's $50 for 500 gigs. If you need more, it's $100 for 2 terabyte. But they have lifetime plans, which are just amazing, that for the equivalent of 3.5 years of 500, you can have indefinite one. And same thing for premium ones, or the 2 terabyte, 350 and a permanent. You can also increase this to, there's a family plan so that multiple people can use it, just like with the OneDrive. And you get 10 gigs for free just to start. The other thing, once I get it up here, you'll be able to see it. Oh, I'm in my virtual box. That's what the problem is. Let's get out of the virtual box. There we go. So pCloud is a part of a device that's included. This folder, I can just copy anything to it and I can share it. It's stored in the cloud. I can access it from any computer that I want through the cloud and that are my computers. There is the backup. There's the backup folder. And this one is backing up some stuff off 2 different desktops and this laptop. So I'm doing it on multiple ones. So that means that on my laptop, I can access any files that are on my tower or on my other tower behind me. One, we talked about it with our backup drive. This is instant. So the minute I make a change, it's stored automatically within a matter of seconds. And I can choose which folders I backed up, because that was in here. Nope, not under notifications. So and I'm doing this because I had people ask questions about what for Linux cloud. So I go to preferences, and if I go to backup, I can select which folders I want to back up. And if it's not any of theirs, because remember I have extra folders, I can add those and they get backed up in time. But when it's synced like that, you got to remember that if I go to one of the folders in pCloud and I delete it, it will no longer show up on my computer because they are totally synced together.
John, a quick question.
Yep.
That pCloud, those backups are done without an actual program that's automatically part of pCloud?
But yeah, when I downloaded it, it's there. This is what it is. It's that pCloud folder. And it puts, you know, that it's active up here in this little blue cloud. And so remember, it's a app image. So I have it set to start up whenever Windows or whenever my computer starts up and logs in, it's running. I don't have to run it. And all I have to do is copy folders to this main folder. And in the preferences, I told them which ones to put in there. The other thing that you can do with this one is that you can also share files. So I can set up a link that would let somebody access the file. If I work it with some people who have pCloud, we can actually work on live files, you know, the collaboration stuff. So pCloud is one option that you have. And the reason for doing that is that you have to do a few hoops to jump through to get Google Drive and OneDrive to work, because they're not native Linux programs, whereas the pCloud is. Let me check my notes real quick, because I think that's what I wanted to make sure we covered. Yeah, not bad. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the sharing and get us back. That's going to be weird because I'm on two different computers. Switch me back to my computer. There we go. The pCloud, somebody put a notice, and I'll have to comment on that pCloud is in a number of different places. My files are in the United States. When you first set up your pCloud, you can choose to put it in a European servers or in the United States. I can change that if I want to pay $18 for the physical cost of somebody having to move my files across the world. But I would also have no access to my pCloud for maybe a day or two while it takes all that switching over. So there are all over, I think there's like 5 major servers for pCloud, one in the United States, and then 5 or so in different European countries, including UK has one. But when you pick it, they kind of put where it's going to go. I picked the United States when I first started and didn't think about that. I'm not. All right, so I think what we'll do now.
John,
Yes.
are you going to open up for questions?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 here from on pCloud.
Yeah.
One, does it save from a, can you use a mobile phone like an Android phone with it?
Do. Yeah, do. I'm pulling it up here.
I guess one way is to go to the,
Yes, you can.
go to the App Store.
What I'm doing is I'm pulling it up on my phone so you could
Well,
you can
Kevin
see.
just,
Yeah.
Kevin Leftwich just answered the question.
But yeah, it's cross-platform, so I've got it on the phone and I've got it on my laptop. I've got it on that. So yeah, that's why I like it. It works on Windows and Linux. It works on my phone, so I have access. Same thing, like that's why I like Bitwarden. I have Bitwarden on my phone, so I can put in passwords on my phone if I need to on that.
And there's another question. I guess individuals don't really know how cloud storage works, but this question, if your hard drive fails, do the files on pCloud get deleted since they can no longer sync with the specific hard drive? The answer would be no. I mean, it's not, they're not tied together.
Right. It's the way the system works is you have two options. You can just back up files, and the files are just like a stagnant. When you put them up in the cloud, you put them up in the cloud, and they don't get updated because you have to upload them. If they're synced, then when you fix one on your computer, it automatically gets copied, the newest version, up into the cloud. But if your hard drive crashes, they're still up in the cloud. And that's what's good, because when you bring your computer back up, you just link put your pCloud back in, and all those files will come back in eventually, depending on your download speed.
Now, what I've tried to explain to people in the past is that cloud storage is just another location. The only difference is that it's not physical, it's virtual. But it's just another storage location. I mean, it's no different from having a physical drive on your computer. They both operate the same way, except one, it's just like having a C or D or E drive on your physical box. The only difference is that this one is located in a remote location.
Yeah, the cord that's is replaced on your I've got my external drive here. I was going to use it and I forgot to. The USB cord technically is replaced by an Ethernet cord that your files transfer to a computer somewhere in the world that's for storage. There was a question about the editing program. There's one called OpenShot, and these are, you'll find those in your software center store for your distro. One's called OpenShot. The better one, I think, is OpenShot. There's also the one for the KDE desktop, which is real good, Kden, KDEN, Kden Live. And then there was a third one that's another shot one, but you'll find them all in your software store, since they're all free.
Yeah, the Kden Live is also cross-platform. They have one for Windows as well.
Absolutely. I very rarely talk about any software that's not cross-platform, because that way, for people who are using Windows and use that, I can say, hey, Linux has it, so come on over and do the same thing that you have there.
Another question is, do we need to be concerned about viruses when we use app images?
No, because remember, open source, we know everything that's in that file. And so, you know, it's been examined and people know what's in it. So as long as you go and get it, like I went exactly to pCloud and got that one, and went to Etcher and got theirs. You know, if you get it from some guy who's got this a big trench coat that says, here, I got something really good for you, then you might not. But as long as you go through, like the flat packs, you're getting them from Linux Mint. The snaps, you're getting them from Ubuntu. There's no worry about those. You go out on the dark market, maybe so.
And this
So-
question is kind of difficult to answer, but I'll just throw it out here. Can Chinese hack or government gain access? And I guess that's in reference to cloud storage. I mean, it's hard to answer that question, really. You don't know.
Well, the way I answer it is, it depends on where your stuff is stored. I use Proton Mail and I use pCloud because they're based in countries that have so secure laws that nobody can get to them. So, I go to Proton Mail because in Switzerland, their laws, government can ask for my files, but they're not going to get them. And two, even if they did, they're all encrypted, so it wouldn't do them any good. So it basically comes to where are your files stored and what are the laws for that area that you're storing them in. And pCloud is one that are encrypted and stored in locations that have good privacy laws. So I don't have problems with either Proton Mail or pCloud. And other people speak on other ones. I had a question that was asked, I need to ask that if time shift works if the computer's not running. No, it can't, because it's a program that has to run. No backup will work if your computer is turned off. So, yep, you have to have time shift computer on to let time shift work.
You have a time for Steve Parker.
Oh yeah, let's go, Steve.
Steve, go on.
If you have your files synced with pCloud and you're working on something that's got a lot of files and it crashes, is there any possibility that the files on your pCloud could crash that are synced? That they'd be corrupted?
I would say no, but
I agree with you, Bill.
Yeah.
they're not linked. I mean, not in the way that you think, because your drive crashed doesn't necessarily mean that the other drive. And secondly, there's redundancies, Steve. There's more locations. So if one goes down in one location, it automatically switches to another. So you don't lose files in that way.
I think one of the answers would be is that if you were working on the file in the cloud and you messed it up, then there's a problem. But since I'm working on my copy that gets uploaded to the cloud, the one up there, and the pCloud has a trash can up there, and it has a backup. You can get files for 30 days. They're kept in the background for versions for 30 days, or you can pay for it to be kept for a year. But in the old days, when we weren't working on our actual computer, and we were connected to a server from a dumb terminal, you were actually working on those files. So yeah, if you messed up those files, I'm not quite sure, because I don't use it, but if you're working on your files in Google Drive, are those the actual files that you're working on? And if you messed up that file, would the file be bad? That's, but that I think is the difference. But if the actual file is on your computer and that's the one you're working on, then that one is secure up in the cloud. It's a backup. Anybody else? Is there somebody who wants to ask the question? Well, how do you do this? I showed you how to do a lot of things.
John, I have a question.
Yes.
It's the very first topic, but I didn't want to interrupt you. On time shift, when I went to go set all the settings, You had moved so fast, I never found it, and I looked at, I couldn't find how you set it up,
Okay, I can
how
go
to
back.
open it up to set it up, so that's what my question is.
Good. Let me go back to the other computer. And now I'm back here. And I don't want that. And share. Okay, so the first time you do it, when you go through the initial steps, it's going to come up with the things you're looking for. But right now, since I've already written or used time shift, spell it right. Yes, I have permission. Okay. So if I go, and I have to be careful on this one, if you go back up to your settings, there's the schedule. So did you see that when I went back in? Yeah.
Okay,
then-
but that's all you can set up there. Is that you were showing, when I hit mine, I just get select snapshot type, and I get rsync mark. That's all
Right.
that I can do.
All right.
From
So you click rsync and then you have to go next.
Right, where's next?
Well,
There's no next.
It has to be a brand new one. You don't have a brand new one. So don't you have what I have across the top, type, location, schedule?
Yes.
All right.
User filters missed, but I have no way to get all those settings that you were setting up. You
Yeah.
know, where you were saying 6 of these and 1 of these, I can't
Go-
get to that.
Click on schedule.
Okay. I have, okay, that's schedule. What else did you show?
Location, where are you going to save it?
Okay, oh, so it's all up, okay.
Now, the very first time you do it, that comes up one at a time every time you click next, next, next.
Okay,
Because it takes you through the step of, first it says, what type do you want? Next, you would say location. And you can see that on my computer,
Right.
I have multiple partitions. And so I have a partition called backup. So that's where it goes.
okay.
Th-
You're not
Tab,
keeping
does
that
it
back-
tell
you're
you
keeping
if they're,
the backup on an external drive. I mean, you're keeping your backup on time shift on an external drive, because if the program doesn't work, time shift's not going to help you.
Sure it will, because what's not going to work is my SDA1, which is my actual mint. Now, you're talking, you got to remember, you're talking two different things. If the whole computer doesn't work, that's different. You have to have a startup, a live CD. Remember, we talked about putting in the thumb drives. You would put in the thumb drive, you would install time shift on the thumb drive, and then you would be able to go and say, I want to put the backup from my backup back into my root. But here, this is what I can use it with the fact that it went wacko, like on your computer. When it went kind of wacko, we might have been able to do a time shift back a week or a month. But if the whole Linux doesn't work and get running, then you have to go through a live boot and get your backup from that.
Well, there was something where you selected what was backed up, not just the rsync, but I thought you didn't back up root.
I didn't back up anybody's home.
Home, okay. So home you put on the external drive typically.
Absolutely, and I use a different program.
Okay,
We don't. I only use time shift for my system to get it
Okay.
back up and running quick.
now I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Takes
So-
care of wasn't
yeah.
getting.
So,
Thank you.
so for me, I use time shift for my system and I use pCloud for all my files. But
Okay.
I also use that backup tool that I showed you just today, that on my big desktop, I have an external drive and I did my backup on this one. Oh, Lucky Backup is the other version. The backup tool that I showed you, that's what I've done that too. That's because remember we say, you know, you have to have them 3, 2, 1, 2 different locations. So I use backup tool to back up to an external hard drive. I use pCloud to get them off my computer. And so here is the one that personal data backup now. Where do you want to back it up? And I have it on a miscellaneous. What do I want to not back up? I don't know why music is on there. I have to get that off. And then anything extra I want, and then I hit apply, which I'm not going to do. And then it just does the backup. So I use 2 different things. Some people use an image backup where they copy the whole computer, like you're talking with like Macrium or Asus, and that copies everything and then restores everything. Well, my feeling is why take the time to restore all the data if the data is not a problem? Just restore the system, or don't restore all the files unless I just have a file or something that's bad.
Okay, and what was the name of the one, the program that you use for your personal data that you keep off the drive? What was the name? Was that backup tool? Was that the name?
Yeah, backup tool. Lucky Backup is another one, but the backup tool is just very easy to use.
Okay.
And it's probably based on Lucky Backup to begin with. It's an older one.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Lucky Backup, somebody showed, I think us before. And when you look at that, you're going, man, there's a lot of, you know, buttons there. And you know, it's actually the front end for like rsync. So you're actually seeing what's going to be done in the command line. But I like to just keep it simple. And as you notice today, we didn't go to the command line once. Anything else somebody would like to see how to do? Or
in your time shift schedules, does it
Yeah.
tell you whether it's an incremental or a full or a differential, or
it's not going to be time shift just does my system. You know, all of the guts of,
does it back up just what's changed since the last time you did it, or does it back up all the files in your system?
it doesn't back up all the files. It does not back up any data file at all.
Yeah, no, but I mean, what type of backup is it doing? Like, is it doing a full, a differential, or an incremental?
Okay, I'll throw the question back to you. What kind of a backup did Restore Point do?
It didn't. It was a Mickey Mouse registry.
Right.
Basically.
Time shift is better. Time shift would be backing up all of your files that on that particular day was working on your machine, all of your system files. And that's why when mine went bad, I was able to revert back and get my DNS, which is part of the networking, working again. Yeah. So, you know, my thing, you know, it's a full backup, but it's not a, you know, a data backup. It's just the system backup. Because I purposely said, do not back up any files. You know, so all of these backups are a snapshot of what my computer looked like, my system looked like on that particular day, minus all of the home folders and all of that stuff that I don't need because I have that on a separate hard drive or a separate partition or, you know, backed up differently.
And did you make a folder that says time shift?
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
Time shift made its own folder?
Right, because I told them where to put it. Remember, I said, you know, do it on, you know, I have a partition called backup, and it's one that's kind of like a hidden one. You won't see it on my computer unless you go to gparted, then you can see it. But if I go to file system, if I go to file system, you will not see under the devices, there's miscellaneous ISO VBox. There is no backup. It's hidden, protected.
Is time sync the one that protected it?
Yeah.
I mean, time shift is the one that protected it?
Yeah, because I created a partition and said, use it. So it's using it and it doesn't make it visible.
Okay, but in my case, not partition, I would simply just make a folder so I could always find time shift.
You wouldn't put the folder on your home, your root directory. No.
I'd make one under applications then, and
No, it cannot be on the C drive, which would be equivalent to the C drive.
then
It would
where is it?
It would be a separate physical drive.
Yeah, it has to either be on a separate partition or on an external drive.
So the
If
external
you
drive,
put it on a partition and the drive gets toast, you just toasted your backups too.
Right. But on a laptop, you know, you don't have a second hard drive that you can put in there usually.
Yeah, I do. I've got 3 in mine.
Yeah, you got a bigger laptop than I do.
okay, so you keep the hard drive, the external hard drive plugged in all the time?
No, because you can make time shift back up whenever you want it to. There was an option to make it as, you know, you make it now. So you would have some backup programs you can set up a time, but with time shift, if you wanted to put it on the external, then you would plug it in and do what I'm going to do right now. I'll go back up.
That we were.
It's backing up right now. There we go.
So you use one external hard drive just for time shift, and then you use another one like pCloud and a different external hard drive for your files.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But I also, on my desktop, because I have multiple hard drives, I can back up my data to another internal hard drive and an external hard drive and in the cloud. 3, 2, 1. You can see the very first one. See, the very first one has an O. If I come up to my menu right here, it says create. I can create a snapshot whenever I want to. So in your case, if you wanted to do it on an external drive that you didn't want plugged in because you didn't know at what time, because you can see that on mine, they don't do it at the same time. I don't know when it's doing it, but it does it. So I could plug in my external drive, hit my button, says create it, and it would back it up, and it would be what's considered an O drive, O tag. And you can do that whenever you want to. You could do it once a day, you know, once a week, once a month. I wouldn't do it that far. But that you could, so you can create them on your own. And that would work just as fine.
Size column so you can see how big they are.
Let's see, we can go into, because that it does not show on that. They're not big. Remember that I've got 11 of them, and it only takes up 29 gigs. So they're only about 10 gigs, 3 gigs a piece. So that's how we can tell. 29.4 divided by 11 is less than 3.
John, can I ask a question related to this stuff?
Always.
The gentleman that was just speaking, I really feel for him because I'm kind of locked on this too. I don't think that these backups of these snapshots are all equal. I think the O one, I assume if time shift is going to allow you to restore your operating system to some previous point in time, the initial snapshot would have to be, I would imagine, your entire operating system. And then any changes you make to that operating system, whether they be updates or additions to software, would be, in that gentleman's eyes and in my eyes, the equivalent of an incremental style backup. I'm not talking about your data. I'm just talking about the
Right,
system.
right.
So I would expect, and I'm kind of curious as all get out too, that O is probably, you know, as big as a compacted version of your operating system. And then the monthly, weekly, daily backups would, I would imagine, be much smaller. Is there any way we could, and again, I don't want to belabor the point, but I mean, if we can find it easily, I'd love to see it, but I don't want to get off.
The easiest way to find out whether it is or not is if you deleted that one that's O, would you be able to restore from the other ones? If they're incremental, they're reliant on that full backup. They wouldn't be able to restore anything if you deleted the full backup.
I'm looking at the log right now. And
Steve, that's not an cool.
No, you'd have to have
the
the
logs
backup of all those as well, otherwise you'd lose it. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the logs to see if it says anything. It's interesting. There's a lot more logs than there are for the images. So there's the one that was done today, April 20th at 12:21 while we were working. See, my understanding for these is that each of them are a snapshot of how it looked. There we go. Well, that's my free space. That I can go to any of them and restore to that point. So if I go back to that point, it takes me back to that date of what was done. So, you know, I'm not thinking that, you know, incremental, because I don't think it goes back, and because it works too fast. When I did it the other day, it did not take very long at all. And my system was back to, you know, running the way it was a week ago. And I only had a few updates to do, so it didn't have those updates. But everything else was there. They can't be big if I've got 11. Let me go in to see if it'll let me go into another shortcut. Go to P to my program. This is makes things a lot easier. Program finders, not menus. So now you'll see it, whereas you couldn't see it, you can see now. There's my time shift. And I've only used 27, but I don't think it, you know, it shows a way to get into that because it's a hidden one. Let me do it the other way. Yeah. As you can see, I'm looking at my media, and the backup is not visible. Let me see if I can do, yeah. See, it's protected by time shift that I can't even access it. Only time shift can. I can see that it's there through the gparted, but to have it something that's only 29 and there's 11 of them there, I think the only reason what the difference on the O is that that's the one that was made, you know, not on schedule.
Ken just asked, John, could you move time shift into pCloud? Could you add that as a folder somehow?
I'm trying to think. No, because you can't find time shift.
Okay. All right. I'm just thinking I need to mark an external hard drive with nothing but time shift on it.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't have to have nothing on it but time shift. If it's big enough, you can see right now that I've got 11 different backups going, but they delete. You know, it only keeps 2 monthly ones. So when I do the 3rd month one, the oldest month one gets erased. So I only need about 50 gigs reserved. So you could take an external drive and partition the drive, and one partition 50 could be your time shift. And then you could use the rest of it for other backups.
Well, I think another beginner class is partitioning. Sorry.
No. It's already on the list. We've done it before. We're going to do it again. And you know, it's something that once you get comfortable using the program like Gparted, partitioning is just, you know, slicing a cake and marking the cake, say this is who gets this piece and who gets that piece. John, my buddy John, what do you got for us?
Hey John, good to see you. I need to share screen because I'm having a problem and I wanted to know if I could get some assistance.
Give me a second here. There you go.
Thanks, sir. Let me just give you the rundown on this. So I'm using a program on Windows called Multi-Boot USB, and what it's for is you can put multiple distros onto the thumb drive so that you can, you know, use them to try out different distros. So that's what I use it for on Windows. I load different distros on there and then I use it to test them out or play with them. It is a cross-platform program, and if you look right here, I got the file from SourceForge, which is a reputable location to get open source software.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm having trouble getting it installed on the Linux side, and here's the file that I downloaded. It has I don't know if it matters, but it has the .deb extension, and
right.
I thought I knew what I was doing with it, but I can't get it to install. Now it looks like it's a zipped file.
Correct. No, it's not a zip file. It's just a Debian file.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So when I click on it, this is what I get. So where do I go from here?
We're on your Windows computer now?
No, we're on the Linux.
Okay.
We're on Linux. So I thought you know, it says it wants to extract those files.
Okay. Go ahead and hit extract.
Okay.
And it'll say where. I would put it in a folder. Just create a new folder.
Okay.
And just give it a name. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just call it multi. Okay, and then
Just
do
hit
I
extract.
need
No, just hit extract.
extract? Okay.
Okay, now we're in there. Now the one thing that I would have to see as a flash, this is a Python 3. Do you have the Python software installed on that Linux?
I don't know. So
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah, there's, you know, my, you know, and I'm not the big, we needed to have Orv here, but he had to leave for another meeting. Is that I've done it before where I've had things that says you need to download the Python language so that it can run a Python program.
So when I typed in Python in the search, it has this here on the command. It says command line run. Yeah. I don't know if that's what I need to do or not.
Yes.
We had a confirming there, yes.
Okay, so if I do that, if I hit run Python, I'm not sure if it's going to pull up the command line or not.
Yeah. My other question would be is, did you like this one better than Ventoy?
Well, is Ventoy cross-platform?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I think so.
I wasn't sure. The only reason that I wanted to get it installed is I had this one already set up, and I was just wondering. So maybe I should consider the Ventoy one. Have you had pretty good luck getting it installed on both Windows and Linux?
No, you know that I don't run things on Windows more than a game or Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right. But you got it installed on Linux, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I have. There's my Ventoy flash drive right there with about 6 different things on it.
All right. Does anybody have any suggestions for me? I mean, as far as, do I need to install the Python software, I guess, onto the computer?
Did you try just right-clicking on the deb file and see if you get the option to extract from there? Extract and run an installer?
You mean on this file here?
Yeah, right mouse.
It says open with Arc, which I'm assuming that's.
Oh, that's right. You're using.
I'm using PC Linux OS.
Yeah, and that one's a little bit different than a straight Debian program.
Yeah, just can I make a comment there? It looked like you had 2 subdirectories that were also compressed, that they probably also need to be decompressed.
These here.
Yes.
Is Arc the package manager on PC Linux OS?
I believe so. That's why it's coming up and saying open with
We'll try
Arc.
it. See what that does.
Same thing as it did before.
Okay, so it just extracts it.
Yeah.
What happens if you just run the Debian binary? You double click on that one and see what it does. In the no, inside your new folder. Yep, that just shows a file.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Yeah, I know that in some things that I've done before that use Python, it said, you have to download that because it's just another language that runs programs. I don't remember now which one it is, but it's one that I've used.
Okay, I just thought I would ask because I was, and I've had success installing other programs, and it's like this one was kind of baffling me, so I wasn't sure what.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was on my notes to say with regards to software is that what John's trying to do now, and I've played around with, is not normal everyday computer. We're not even talking Linux, Windows. It's just a computer. You've got to have some more experience in doing computers to get into doing this kind of a thing. My recommendation for most people is if you can't find it in the software center, maybe it's not really what you want to get. For example, the Brave browser that a lot of us like now, it is not in anybody's repository, but there's a few command lines that you copy paste to get it installed. There's a snap pack that's available in Ubuntu for Brave, and I found that there's a flat pack, but it was created by somebody who's not affiliated with Brave, so there's no 100% guarantee. So eventually somebody is going to have the time to develop the package to make an app image of Brave or flat pack that's official, because with Linux there's so many different variations that you've got to have somebody who's got the time to put it all together. So beginner people don't become concerned about he's having trouble, I won't be able to use Linux. No, you don't have to do that at all on Linux.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, so there's plenty of software, as I showed you in the software store and the flat pack. Everything you need is pretty much there. And the Brave isn't that hard to do. It's a matter of copy 5 lines and paste them one at a time in your command line, which is easy to show you how to do. And then you got Brave. But right now there's no Brave in the software store because the people who make Brave, nobody has had the time to make a special one for each distro.
Anyway, I was just wondering if anybody had any suggestions or if I was doing something wrong, because I just, it's funny you mentioned about Brave because I was able to install Brave,
Yeah,
but I can't get this installed. So
well, yeah, like I said, the Brave was just 5 command lines that you don't even have to know what they're doing. You just
Right.
copy it, paste it, hit enter, copy, paste, enter, and then you got Brave running.
okay, I'll keep playing around with it and I'll let you know if I find a solution.
Yeah, bring it back the next month or so, and maybe there's some other mental.
Hey,
Donna.
John.
Oh yeah, Stu, hi there.
Hi, John. Hey, if I were the person you were just talking to, I'd try to find the website of whoever is designing this program and explain to him, make some pictures and show him what you're trying to do. And I'm sure they'll help you. I've had very good luck with single developers trying to help you use their work.
Yeah. Following on that, there's a program that we've been trying to look at that's called HD Sentinel. We sent that advertisement out last month from one of the workshops, and there's no big paid program for Linux. There's a Linux program. Part of it runs a command line. Couldn't get that to work. And then there's a GUI, but I couldn't follow. I tried to follow the instructions, and just like you did with that, John, it wouldn't work. But I figured out a way, and it was a matter of you took that zip file and you unzipped it. Then there was another zip file inside of that, so you unzip that, and then finally you had the program. And so I can make it work, but I sure wasn't doing it the way they were supposedly saying to do it. So, Judy said, well, why don't you get a hold of the people and say you're having trouble? And my answer to her was, I'm not a smart Linux user. There are a lot of smart ones that should have already said to them, there's a problem with this. So obviously I was doing something wrong, but I was able to get it to work, but maybe just not the right way.
John,
Yeah.
Donna has her hand up. Also, Glenn Gosling.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Glenn's name on there, but Donna.
Okay, I plugged in an external hard drive to do the snapshot, and it says selected device does not have a Linux partition. So it's
right.
I need a class on partitioning. I mean, I don't want to partition the whole drive, do I, in Linux?
No.
I mean,
It'd be Donna. It's like this. You have a cake. You can cut cake into big pieces and small pieces.
Right.
And so when you partition, you tell them, I want this partition to be this kind, like a Windows one, and I want this one to be a Linux one.
Okay, but I don't know how to partition properly. So
we can take care of that. No big deal.
Okay, I was just sharing what my external hard drive for a beginner, they're going to have the same thing. That selected device does not have a Linux partition.
Right. And so what it would be is that that you would take that device and you would format it, you know, going into the device manager and say format it Linux. But if you still want to be able to use it with Windows, we have to do it 2 different parts so that Windows, because Windows cannot read the ext4 files.
Okay.
But not a problem. I can get you through that. Oh, there's Kurt, next month's presenter. Yay.
Okay.
Glenn, go
John,
ahead.
Glenn.
Oh,
Okay,
he
you
had
hear me?
he had a real hand up. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, that deb file requires a Debian installation. PC Linux is RPM, it won't install.
Aha.
Until you put the proper program in RPM to install a deb program. Otherwise, he's gonna have to compile it.
Ooh, yeah, don't want to do that. You might try to do not there's a few people, Glenn. GDebi, John, is the one program that you might try to see if you can install, because that's the one that will take care of the deb programs. We've had to do that because we found out that with Linux, with Ubuntu, we were trying to install a version that was newer than what was in the software store. And every time we got it and we hit the button to install, it reverted to the version that was in the software store. So we had to download GDebi and run the program through GDebi, and then that worked fine. So thanks, Glenn. I knew that, that PC Linux, I liked it, did something different. So yeah, they're an RPM, so they're not going to buy.
PC Linux is Red Hat, and you'll have problems. You'll have to do a lot of searching as to find out what all you install. I don't know whether GDeb will install that deb package on an RPM system.
So John's got some homework. Good. Thanks, Glenn.
Okay.
Anybody else has some? Yes.
We have a gentleman that has a 4JFMY7 on his screen for a name.
Oh.
And I've been trying to get him to change it to a name that we recognize, but
That's fine, because he just won't get any follow-up from Judy, because that won't be what he registered with, so we won't be able to link up his name. Sorry about that, 4LF Jimmy / whatever. Anybody else have any asking about beginner stuff? Today was beginner stuff, but we kind of spread a little bit farther to how do you do that? Because my goal was that things that I did today are things that Windows people do, just like Linux people do. And so, there's not that much difference. Software can be the same, procedures is the same. It's just a different house that you're working in.
Yes, you mentioned one.
Format a partition for.
John,
okay.
Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, and I feel this is probably one of the ultimate beginner questions, and I don't have a clue, so I'm a bit embarrassed. You talked about the super key on the keyboard,
yes.
And I assume you're using a traditional, run-of-the-mill keyboard.
Yes.
What is the super key?
You want to make me? Like you want to make me say that, huh?
No, I just don't know. I just don't know.
It's the Windows key.
Okay, I thought that might be what you're talking about. Right, like 5 seconds ago, I said, "Oh, maybe it's that key," but I wasn't sure.
You're right,
and it had nothing to do with trying to embarrass you at all. I felt like a jerk because I didn't know.
My tongue's gonna fall off now. Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin. I love that.
If I had it, I could take. If I had a sticker, I'm looking for it with a penguin. I would stick it on top of that. But yeah. It would be the same as the Apple's open Apple, closed Apple ones, but yeah, the window key is considered the super key, and so in Linux world we use that, and I use that a lot for shortcuts.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because Judy always says that I sometimes forget to make a common denominator word out of it. So yeah, super key is the window key.
Yeah, the only
Thanks a lot.
exception to that is that Google has skirted the issue and they're using the shift key as the anything key.
Are they? Okay. Well,
the left shift key.
okay, just the left one. Okay.
Cap lock. It's cap lock.
Cap lock, yeah, sorry.
Oh, the cap lock. Yeah, because if it were up to me, I would disconnect cap lock from using it as a cap lock and put it something else. Because when I was teaching keyboard skills in middle school, it would just irritate me to watch the kids put the cap lock on, type a capital letter, take the cap locks off, instead of learning to use the shift key. Steve, help us.
What should you format the partition to in the file system for Linux?
ext4. Eventually, we've got a couple of new versions, like I mentioned earlier, that BTRFS that is nicknamed ButterFS. It's supposed to be a better file system, but it is not ready for prime time. So most people use the ext4 fourth version of the ext one, but Linux can also use NTSF and FAT files. But the native one would be the ext4 now. And in Donna's case, she would make one partition in NTSF so her Windows computer could read it, and then the ext file for basically the fact that the backup program needs the ext file. Because Linux can back up to or can use NF. Now I'm going to mumble that up. The NTFS. Because I used to use that a lot when I was dual booting. I have an NTSF partition that both Linux and Windows could share files. But evidently that program that Donna was checking requires a ext4 file, not a FAT file, because that's probably what the external hard drive has. Anybody else? Like I said, next month it's going to be really neat. Kurt's going to be taking us through using the Raspberry Pi device to be able to connect so we can use Linux without having to have a computer, another computer, a monitor, keyboard, mouse, and all that. So that's going to be really neat next month. So anything else for today? Judy's not here to say anything else. Like I said, we've got a workshop next week on taking good pictures with Dave Melton, and another one from his club on smartphones and iPads. We'll be back next month, third Wednesday with Kurt. And I think the fourth Wednesday, I don't know if it's 100% official, but many of you who have heard last year, Lieutenant Kim Lopez do her senior safety program. She's, I think, going to be back on with car safety this time. So I'm looking forward to that. We are working on the Saturday Safari, because it's already the time for another one, on May 5th, I think it is. No, 7th.
7th.
May 7th. So we're working on finalizing the presenters for that. And if it's going to be what we're hoping it could be, it's going to be a good one, but I can't say it because it's not finalized yet. Richard.
Yeah, something a little bit different. I've just been experimenting with the WSL under that other operating system, which brings up quite interesting and efficient Linux windows. And apparently you've got a choice of what Linux version you want to run, whether it's Ubuntu or Debian or various other versions. But so if you want to do a bit of experimenting with Linux at the command line level, it's well worth looking at if you've got a machine running that other operating system.
Okay, do me a favor, put that into the chat box so that we can have a record of that, and then Judy can include that in the follow-up.
The only thing about it is I haven't been able to find where they store the Linux home directory.
Ah,
But
something hidden
you
there.
certainly can access it as part of when you fire it up. The C drive is automatically mounted, so all the files are immediately accessible from that Linux window.
That sounds like something good for somebody to share in a future one.
Thank you, Richard, for being here. What time is it in Australia right now?
Yeah, it's about 4:38 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we sure
started at
appreciate
2
you
a.m.
joining us. We sure appreciate you joining us from there, because that way we can say that we're definitely an international viewed workshop. Thanks so much. All right, if nothing else, we'll end things today. And Bill, if you had some extra stuff in your chat, save that, send it to Judy.
I have it saved, yes.
Okay. And I'll have a few things on mine.
And hopefully I have a good recording.
Well, I've got one over here, except when I shared, because I was going through the other system, I didn't get a full wide screen. I don't know why that is, but that's because I'm sharing through a splitter, I think, on that. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. As again, Judy would say, if you have any ideas for future workshops, we need ideas, because my goodness, Bill and Judy and I have been doing this for almost 2 years and kind of running out of ideas, and we need people to help share. And as you can see, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be somebody who wants to share. And we're not perfect. We don't make this cut, do it again, cut, do it again. We just go with the flow. So I'll see everybody. And Bill, I thank you again for always being my right-hand guy there.
Not a problem. Thank you, John.
That's great. Oh, no, thank you. And we'll see everybody later. Saving my chat.
All right. Bye-bye.
Everybody have a good afternoon.